Welcome to the Configure Price Quote Podcast. My name is Frank Sohn and I'm the founder of CPQ Consulting. This podcast is 100% focused on Configure Price Quote, also known as CPQ, and will provide you useful insights into this topic. My guest today is Eyal Orgil, co-founder and chief growth officer at DealHub. Eyal has been with the CPQ podcast 3 times before, and I'm excited to have him back to talk about what's new at DealHub. He has over 25 years of business experience, co-founded DealHub in 2014, and today focuses on driving the product vision for their revenue platform and AI innovation. Eyal lives with his family near Tel Aviv in Israel, and I'm very excited to have him back. Welcome back to the podcast, Eyal.
Thanks, Frank. It's great to be back. I didn't realize that I'd been on, so many times in the past, but it's great to definitely be back.
No, you were, and I think it was always interesting. So I'm looking forward to our discussion today. I think the last time you were on the podcast was in 22. And I know now that's a big change from 22 to 26, right? But from your point of view, what has changed most for you personally and professionally in these last couple of years?
I think the biggest thing is just where we're at as a company. Today we're 300 employees. I think we're around 1,000 customers. We're definitely growing fast. It's been changing from, I still remember the days from our first podcast when we were probably like about 15 or 20 people. And that's where my mindset is always at. So anything I always think about is always, I'm amazed by that 300 people. I see people in the office, I don't know who they are. I feel really bad. There's new people coming in all the time, sort of thing. So that's probably what's been the biggest difference is that, we've become a large organization for good. And, I think all for good. There's probably some bad in there when you become a large organization, but everything is for good. The product capabilities that we have today are much different from what we've had in the past, the ability to go and do things and all that. So it's been great, growing as a company and seeing the changes that we're going through.
What for you is most interesting about this growth, right? So, I mean, what are you most proud of right now? That you have more employees, that the product has been improved? What makes you most proud?
Well, I think if I take a minute and step back and think, it's like when I said 300 employees, that's 300 families. It's like when I came together with my partners and we said, let's put together a company. There were 3 of us. We brought in a few more programmers and we started off and, the whole company and our families could get together in my backyard and we could have a barbecue. But now to think of it, it's 300 families. There's kids, there's people that are being supported. So we've created something really great. And that's on the employee side. When we look at the customers, 1,000 customers, that's 1,000 organizations that are getting value from a solution that we had an idea and we developed it and we continue to grow it and all that. And I think it's sometimes when I take a step back and just think it's just amazing. It wasn't one of these things that I thought about when I was going through university and starting to work and all that one day I'll create a company. Now I haven't created Google or anything like that, but I don't need to create Google. I've created my own little world that's, supporting people, supporting organizations and all that. And I'm just, that amazes me. It still amazes me to this day that we've been able to do that, and I'm so proud of that.
No, and as you said, right, so you've grown it quite a bit when you look over the last 12 years. I think we met the first time around 2015 or so, right? So, and
somewhere around there,
this has grown quite a bit. So, but you also have changed roles in between, right? So, and I think the latest role you have was this chief growth officer. Tell me what that is, what's new, what's exciting for you about that role.
Well, it just got to a point where I've been doing the sales for about 12 years and we were looking at where's the company going to go. And it was sort of like, let's go back to basics. Not that we have to go completely to basics, but basics of how do we start thinking about where do we take the product next with AI and other capabilities in the solution and all that. So it was an exciting opportunity to go make a change, go back to that initial thought process and how do we want to make the product work? What kind of capabilities we want it to have? So it's jumping into more of a strategic role. So it's been very exciting. It's been a definite change in the pace and what I go through on a day-to-day basis in a different way. Whereas before I was dealing with customers as a CRO, now I'm dealing more with internal employees. I do get on a lot of calls, which I'm really happy about, and I do maintain that. I like to get the feedback from the customers. I will go on sales calls and all that, and I'll quickly fit back into that role really quickly. A smile comes across my face when I get to explain the product and all that. So there's definitely been changes in what I'm having to do, but I'm excited by the ability to go back and relook at the product and the capabilities that we offer and create new value for customers.
Excellent. You have customers now all over the globe, right? So you work with quite a couple of different cultures and business behavior and stuff like that. And I was just wondering, what that means for how you build the product also, right? When you work with all these different cultures, all these different business habits, how does it impact how you develop the product?
It's kind of interesting. It's in sort of two aspects of things. When you see salespeople, a salesperson is a salesperson. If they're speaking Spanish, German, English, French, whatever language they're speaking, they're a salesperson. They want to get their quote out there. They want to get the value out there to the customer. So on the sales side, it doesn't have a difference. They talk a different language. They'll have a different accent, but they're the exact same person. On the operation side, sometimes you see people with different processes and all that. But at the end of the day, I'd say majority of our business today is still in the tech industry. The tech industry is very similar in many different cultures. Like I said, there are the small nuances where people behave different. Their natural culture is different. But in the business culture, I don't go into it. I remember going to a meeting with a large German customer recently, a couple months ago, flew to Frankfurt. And I sat in a room with 20 people, and I did not feel any different. I didn't feel that I had to behave different. It's just, they were all, thankfully, they were all speaking English because I never would have understood them. But there was all those people from other countries in the room as well, from this large organization. And it just felt natural. There wasn't, maybe it's something to do with my experience nowadays where I don't look at it different. When I was younger, maybe I looked at it different, was more, challenged by that. Business is business. People want you to be clear, get the value across, and, tell them what you can do for them and all that. And I sometimes find it not much different anymore. Maybe the world's just gotten smaller. Maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah. Maybe a good follow-up question for that is also, so I know you're going to a couple of industry events like the HubSpot event, right? So and Salesforce events and stuff like this in North America. What are some other events in other parts of the world that you go into where you learn different things like in these North America events?
We've mostly focused on the North American events. I think we've gone to a few European events. The kind of events we go to are, like you say, like Dreamforce. We'll go to HubSpot, which is now, I guess, rebranded it to Outbound instead of Inbound, or Allbound. Sorry, they call it now Allbound. So what's nice about those events is you get people from all around the world. You go to Dreamforce, and there's people from Australia and from Europe and from Asia Pac and all these different places. So you do see all those different cultures. When we go to other more localized events, it's usually more the smaller events, which we also do in North America, more for like RevOps types folks and all that are very focused on those different stakeholders that are involved in the process, not as large of organizations. So there, obviously, you're dealing with the local cultures. So it does get into some of that nuance that we talked about earlier, that sometimes maybe business is a little bit different in some of those areas, or how you behave, or how the events be, sort of the format of the events and all that. But for the most part, it's the couple two, three big events, and then just regional type events. And those are mostly what we go to in other locations.
Good. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about DealHub, right? So, and I think the initial trigger for us to do this podcast was your acquisition of Subskribe. It has been a while now. Tell me a little bit more about why you did the acquisition, what you hope to achieve with it. And yeah, let's start there.
So basically, for most of the history of the company, we've been working in the CPQ space, and CPQ is the beginning of the sales process, and then it goes on to how you're managing your subscriptions, which we went into over time, and then how the next step is the billing. And there's always a problem over there because people are talking to different systems are talking to different systems. CPQs are talking to CRMs. Billing systems are talking to ERP, sometimes load to the CRM. They're getting communication maybe from one to the other through a cross channel, and there's always been an issue between the sales side of things and the finance side of things. They look at things, they talk different languages, they look at things in a different way and all that. And we just realized there was a space over there that wasn't being adapted. We were seeing more interest from customers that they want to have that issue resolved, so that I have an automated flow. I create a quote, I catalog it as my subscription, and it automatically goes into my invoicing and billing processes, and then continues on into the ERP. So they want a continued flow from the CRM to the ERP. And we just saw more and more customers talking about these pains. We saw more interest. Together with what you see in the industry today is all the consolidation, which happens across all kinds of different platforms. And it just the timing came together. It was just the right time for us to do that. We saw the right needs for the customers. And there was the opportunity to go work with the Subscribe team. They had a CPQ with a great billing solution. We had a great CPQ. We saw the pairing. We'll take our CPQ, we'll take it together with their billing and invoicing functionality. And it just makes, a great match. And since we first started talking this, I guess around November, December, around the time where we closed the deal. So we're just in the coming days, couple weeks, we're looking to actually release the first product of that. One integrated solution, which is also what people want. They want one platform, one system to log into, one system that's going to have all that capability. That's exactly what we're coming out with.
And you already mentioned it a little bit, right? So the products have been put together. I'm also interested how customers reacted to these changes and what you expect going forward from this combined product offering.
So customers have loved it. We've gone back and talked to a lot of, as we're going into this process and through this process, we've been talking to our existing install base and all that. And you talk to them, they all have a pain. Majority of them have a pain. Not all the pains necessarily, but they do have pains. They are looking for a better solution. Most of them don't have a situation, or obviously they don't. If they're using our CPQ, they're using some other billing solution, so they don't have one integrated solution. If you can come to them and say, I can take away a lot of the pains that you have from having to do reconciliations, not having one central location to find out what your actual revenue is. Those are kinds of pains that people have and all that, and they just don't have a solution for that. And you'll never get a solution for that if you have different systems that are somehow patched together. You won't have one system to do that. So going back and talking to our install base, it's been tremendous feedback that they're interested in it. Obviously, we had the Subskribe customer base as well that were very interested in going to a more advanced enterprise grade CPQ together with the billing functionality that they got used to. And just in general in the market, we're seeing a lot of interest from that. There is a lot of pain out there. You don't always hear about it because people have just gotten used to it. There wasn't the solutions available to do that, so it wasn't always talked about. But as soon as you come and you start raising the issue, you start getting a lot of people opening up and saying, hey, yeah, that's exactly the pain that we're having. So it's been tremendous feedback, and we're looking forward to just, a lot of great business out of this merger.
Excellent. And but that's not where your news stopped, right? So I think you also got an additional investment into DealHub lately. Tell me a little bit more about that and what you plan to do with that investment.
So always great to get the support of the industry, to raise more money. So we raised $100 million also at the end of last year. Obviously, that's to continue to scale the company, be able to do these kinds of things with these investments into other technologies and bringing them in, whether that's doing things like we did with Subscribe or expanding our sales portfolio, our sales footprint into other locations. Just in general, just coming up with more and better capabilities and all that. So we're just excited about the funding. It's really going to give us a lot of room to continue to grow and continue the scale that we've been at for the last number of years.
What I was also wondering, Eyal, is so a lot, at least a part of the money, I guess, would also get in promotion of the product, right? So in marketing efforts and stuff like that. And I see, for example, you're very highly rated on G2 also for CPQ, right? And what are from your point of view, the top reasons that customers give you these scores on G2, for example?
Well, in G2, we've been at probably for the last 6 or 7 years, we tend to be rated the number one CPQ. I think it's a couple times it's someone else has overtaken, then we've taken the position back and all that. And I think it's really been a lot of the fundamentals that we created with CPQ from the beginning still continue to be very true today. We make it simple. When we put together the solution, our philosophy was to look at who are the people involved in the process. And for example, the salespeople, they're the front end. If they don't adopt it, you've got a complete failure solution. Doesn't matter how good of a solution you put together. If sales doesn't use it, doesn't adopt it, it's not going anywhere. So from day one, we always had a solution, what we call a playbook, a guided selling process, almost guided selling on steroids, where you can literally walk a salesperson through even business discovery questions. It doesn't have to say what product do you want, what are you trying to accomplish, what are you trying to do. That gives salespeople the ability to sell that the way that they want to sell. So we can even let them answer additional questions. Little silly things. Do you want to show discounts on your quote or not show it on your quote? Sometimes that's what they want to sell. If you can do all the back end processes correctly, but give salespeople the ability to answer questions of how they'd like to present their document, they're going to adopt it because you're thinking of them. So salespeople get what they want. From an operations point of view, that was the other group of people. They want something that they can maintain the ability to go and change as the business change. You're constantly changing your products, your pricing, your processes. You're merging with other companies. You got to bring in a whole portfolio of other customers. Is that now another 6, 9, 12 month or even 24-month project? Or is that a 2 or 3 month project that can quickly keep up with the business? So we came out with a configured solution from day one. We've always had it. We've expanded on the capabilities that can do it so that it's not just building things quickly, it's maintaining them quickly. And then we came up with other things as well. We looked at the end users. So we've had for years now, we've had our digital deal room so you can share content in a digital format. And customers love this because they can share the information with other people within the organization. Everybody gets the same information. There isn't a breakdown in what information is getting to other people. So that ability to go and give salespeople the freedom, what I didn't mention is put guardrails around that. Of course, you don't want them to do just anything, but give them within an organized manner, give the flexibility, give the ability to go sell the way that you want to sell. And that's what's really made the difference. If there's anything else that gives us great results, I think it's just, and I have to hand it out to our support team. Our customer success team is second to none. We're not in the business of trying to make money off of customer success. We're in the business of making customers successful, and that's their guiding principle. So that we go above and beyond, not to go above and beyond as part of our daily business. And that also we see like great, comments. Those are the kind of comments I love to hear where they actually name the customer success and said these guys went out of their way and we've never had support like this before. And that's where I love to hear those kind of reviews, because that really tells you why people love you and not just why they're using you.
If your company is evaluating CPQ and you're not sure which vendors are actually worth your time, try the free Novo CPQ Briefing Match app. You answer a few questions about your business and requirements, and it gives you a more focused starting shortlist of relevant CPQ solutions. It's meant to save time, reduce noise, and make early CPQ research a lot easier. Go to novocpq.com and click on the CPQ Podcast page to find it. Then let's look at one thing, I guess, which impacted your marketplace also a little bit when Salesforce announced the end of sale of the Revenue Cloud. Tell me a little bit more about that, how that impacted DealHub.
I think it's definitely impacted the industry in general, but for us, it's been a large impact. I think it took about probably 4 to 6 months till the industry woke up and realized, whoa, this is really happening. So at first things were a bit slow. We thought we would pick up a little pace, and then probably around September, October timeframe, especially by the time we got to Dreamforce last year in October, the number of customers that were coming up to us and looking for a solution, it comes into twofold. It's those that are looking at it in terms of, we'd like to stay with Salesforce, but they just don't have a solution that's ready for us yet, and that's several years away with their ARM. Or it's those that are looking at, is this a solution it's end of sales, not necessarily end of life, but it means they're end of development. So there's no more capabilities coming out. And then there's those that were worried about, what's going to happen in terms of, just the future in general sort of thing. So it definitely has increased the number of customers that we've had that have come over from Salesforce. It's increased just the interest in the company in general. We have a lot more, leads. It's taken us, we've always gone enterprise, but I think it's probably accelerated that pace of us moving a lot more into the enterprise space today, going to larger customers, because a lot of those larger ones were not waiting around for another solution. They needed a quick fix to what they were doing. And a lot of them we've been able to get up and running very, very quickly. So it's been I hate it when to say on someone's bad aspect of things, but in this case, it's been a harsh competitor of ours for many years. And I'm glad that we're still around and we have a good solution to offer these customers as well. And they're just adding to that, what we talked about before. I'm proud of that we're able to give value now to other kinds of customers as well.
And just for me to understand, one follow-up question to that, right? So what kind of industries, customer sizes do you see mostly coming to you because of this Salesforce end of sale announcement?
Well, the industries that we typically are in, we're probably 70-80% of our business is in the tech, SaaS type industries and all that. So definitely those are coming to us. We do see some others from different industries. So just naturally, that's where they're looking for those solutions, and that's where we have a great fit for them, and they come to us. In terms of size, we're seeing customers, in the hundreds and into the thousands that are coming with us and all that. And if typically, when we first met, I was a happy camper to have customers that were 10, 15, 20 salespeople. We've gotten used to having customers already that are 2, 3, 400. Now we're getting into much higher than that as well. So we're seeing those definitely a lot higher. That was already something that was happening. That's definitely accelerated that pace. A lot of those organizations are very IT driven, and they tend to want to stick with a uniform infrastructure. So they were very comfortable staying with Salesforce. Now that they realize they don't have that solution, they've come over to us, and I think they've seen a lot of value from coming to us. And we see that continuing to grow in terms of the size of customers. So we're very much enterprise and moving into an upper enterprise market nowadays as well.
Excellent. And for any customer who has a Salesforce solution right now and is thinking about moving to DealHub, what do you think? What are the top 2 or 3 things that they should consider before they do this move from your perspective?
I think it's probably similar to the points that I mentioned earlier. It's that we have a solution that your salespeople are going to be happy with. Any CPQ solution, I would, if I say bad things about Salesforce, it would be because I would be seen as a vendor. I'll say this about all my competitors. I think we have a better CPQ, but I think we can provide a lot more functionality for their end users. Our guided selling process is a very different type of environment than what you had on the Salesforce CPQ side of things. So getting your salespeople to adopt it and getting happy and getting the value out of that is definitely. I think as well, what I talked about before, the ability to go and maintain the solution and keep pace with your business changes. You hear so many times with the Salesforce CPQ environment that, it would take them 6 months to go make changes. It's almost like another re-implementation sort of thing. We don't have that. Customers are continuously evolving. We have customers that have been with us 6, 7 years, and they've going from a few tens of salespeople to several hundreds of salespeople, and their processes have changed, and they've merged with companies, and they've added new product lines, and it's just a continuous evolution. So that's something that you're able to go and do that with DealHub. So, and those are things that were our key thing, the key values that we've always had, and we talked about earlier. Those are things that are really going to help. It's worth coming to have a look at it. It's different. There's a lot of CPQs out there. I think I look at it this way, and then there's DealHub, and you definitely have to come look at DealHub because we do things in a slightly different way, and we've proven it over the years, and we've grown with that, and there's definitely a lot of value that you can gain.
Great. Let's switch topics a little bit and let's talk about AI. That's a favorite topic for the last 2.5 years. Every customer wants to talk about it. Every discussion, every analyst wants to write about it. Every system integrator wants to talk about it and use it. Now tell me, where does DealHub use it and what results does it show at this point for customers?
So basically, we took a strategy of a couple things. We wanted to be able to add value that we can go and create, just like we do with our platform. So we took at what kind of AI assistants and agents can we go and generate. I'll talk about those in just a second. And then we also looked at, obviously, the world outside, MCP. How do you go use your own agents? Everybody wants to now build a Claude agent. The number of calls that I take every week where someone said, we just created a Claude agent. Can I connect it to your CPQ system? So that it's there, it's here, and we understand that. From the internal solutions, we also took a look at who are the different stakeholders involved, because we said we're always working with different stakeholders. So how do we provide value to different people? So for the revenue and the finance people, we came out with the ability to do prompt-based insights. So you can go find out anything about the system you want just by simply typing in prompts and save those and have workspaces that you build for yourselves and dashboards and all that. For legal teams, we have attached one thing we didn't talk about, our CPQ, we have a contract repository. So if we're storing a contract, why don't we analyze that with AI and go find out where there's risks and obligations that you may have missed? So we go and make that available, and we've made that available already, so you can go and scan your contracts, automatically scan and get the insights out of that. For sellers, we've looked at it in a couple different ways. We've come up with a solution for price optimization. Everybody always wants to know, am I selling at the right price point? Well, what's the best way to go find out if you're selling at the price point? Let's go look at where you've won deals, where you've lost deals, not give away too much, but give you some understanding about that. And AI does a really good job of going back and comparing to hundreds or thousands of different quotes, specific quotes that are relevant for you. So it's the right geography, it's the right product line, it's the right payment terms. I don't go and someone gave me 120-day payment terms compared to 30-day payment terms. There's a different price point there. So how do I compare all these things? I sold through one partner or another partner. I sell differently in different ways. So we've given the ability that you can have an agent go do that for you and come back in a matter of seconds and saying, here's the recommended price based off of the parameters that you've provided me. So that's one of the aspects that we've done. Another thing that's become very popular and we're just about to release is conversational quoting. Everybody wants to be able to just type in, can you go build me a quote for this, whether it's coming in through Slack or through some sort of agent of some sort, build me out a quote. I think there's still issues around that because some of the customers that we deal with, they only have a few dozen products, but they have dozens and dozens of business discovery questions that you have to have. There's still a question, is that the right format in all cases? And I think it's not in all cases, but there are those cases that you do want to do, or you might want to say, go give me the quote that I sent last week to customer B, and now bring it over to customer A and just give it 5 more licenses and a 5% discount increase. And that's what I wanted to do. So that's the direction that we're going with that conversational quoting, getting a lot of interest from that. In terms of going externally, so we're about to release an MCP server, and that's going to open up the world then. So people can go create, and that's what people want to do. They want the flexibility to go build it. So I can go have an orchestration agent that's going to go look at Salesforce and find the right opportunity. It's going to go look at my Gong account and say, okay, there's the insights that I pulled out of that. Maybe look at my emails and then send that over to DealHub. And DealHub's going to come back and say, okay, you missed a couple points. Can you go ask a couple more things? And the agent will converse with you, find out the other things, and then build out that quote for you. So that's very much where we're going with that. And we're really excited about that because that's really where people are looking, I think, to go next. They want to have the UI within their environment or in their agent and things like that. And they don't want to go through your environment. And it's all exposable now through the MCP. And that's really where we're going with it. And we're seeing a lot of interest from that. So it's really across different areas because I don't think there's one killer solution. I think it's going to be a number of capabilities depending on how your operations are set up. And that's what we're trying to address.
Excellent. And one follow-up question on this one is the admin AI potentially, right? So to help set up rules, product configuration rules or pricing rules or something like that. Are you planning to do anything in that regard?
That one is something that we're looking at right now. I don't have anything, yet on that, but we're doing a lot of investigation, a lot of work in the lab and trying to see how we can go and speed those things up. So there's some work on that. Actually, I do want to add one other AI capability that I didn't mention that we're working on. Because we have these digital deal rooms that we engage with end customers, we're now looking at on our roadmap of how do I go give an agent to the end customer? So I'm talking to a certain vendor who then goes and gives a digital deal room to their end customer. How can they get an agent to go find out to build out their own ROI analysis or go get some additional information or maybe do an upsell for themselves? They bought a certain product. I want to add a couple more items to it and all that, and they can go do that. So that's something we're also investigating on all that, which is a completely different way of looking at AI because now it's to an end-to-end customer that they can now go and interact with an agent sort of thing. So we're really looking at those kind of capabilities as well and getting a lot of interest from that.
I'm pretty sure, Eyal, we will talk about that even in 2 years, right? So AI seems to be a hot topic, seems to stay around. So very interesting. Now let's also look a little bit at your growth story, right? So as you grow, I guess you probably also work more with system implementers since you have more customers, right? So
Yep.
how has that developed? What kinds of partners are the best fit for DealHub projects from your point of view?
Well, one of the things that's really changed with the system integrators is also in the discussion that we had earlier about the Salesforce CPQ ending. A lot of those have been looking for other alternatives and all that. So that's also increased the pace of the types of organization, the size of organizations that we're working on. We work with different levels of partners. We've got those that are very small, a couple dozen people. They're doing like more implementations. You've got the smaller system integrators, which are coming in and implementing the CRM and putting it together. And then we're even looking at we are talking to a number of GSIs as well. I think what's really changed with the integrators is a lot of them have gotten a lot of feedback from their customers that again, the opposite of what the implementer is trying to do is sell a lot of hours that's what their business is. The customers have come back and said, we want a solution. We're looking for value. And I think the implementers and integrators have seen that. And they've seen a lot of advantages with DealHub because our projects are much quicker. They're much easier to maintain. So they're not making as much on the body counts for the implementation of the of the CPQ, but there's a lot of value around for the CRM and other things that they're doing around that. They're giving a lot of value to their customer and all that. So we've definitely seen a lot of interest. A part of that, like I said, is picked up probably since the Salesforce CPQ end of sales, because they've gone out and looked for other solutions and realized there are other ways to go and give value to their customer so they can give quicker value to their customer, maybe not make as much in certain areas on the CPQ, but they can definitely make a lot of money still because there's a lot of other things that are going on around that. So we've definitely seen a growth in that. And some of the system integrators that we never thought would talk to us in the past are now not banging, they're knocking on the door. No one's in a panic,
Yeah.
but they're knocking on the door and they're very interested, and we are working with a number of them.
How many partners do you have right now worldwide?
It's probably several hundred. I don't remember the exact.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We'll have to get you on another podcast with our alliances team, and then maybe.
Now, I want to follow up on one question since you integrate with a number of platforms, right? So it's Salesforce, HubSpot, Microsoft Dynamics, and potentially others, right? So which of these platforms is most important for you at this time and why?
I think where we've seen the most growth or continued growth in usage is Salesforce and HubSpot. I think HubSpot's done a lot of moves in the last few years, moving up market, which is great for us, and we're a great solution for them when they need that enterprise grade CPQ. We've seen a lot of changes, like we've talked about throughout the session here today, with Salesforce CPQ and all that. So Salesforce. So I thought that there's one that's more important than the other. We work closely with that. Microsoft, we do have the integrations to that, but we also have integrations to other homegrown solutions, other CRMs. We have cases of Oracle CRM that work with us. It's all available through the API, so customers can get the exact same value. We just didn't go build out a natural integration for that, but it works with the exact same functionality. So today there's probably at least a dozen other types of systems and CRMs that we're connected to, at least, and there may be even more that I'm not aware of that we're connected to. It's just the main focus today we see with the types of markets that we go after tends to be HubSpot and Salesforce for the most part.
And one question concerning the integration, I see that more vendors are starting to use solutions like, I have no idea, Zapier or Workado or something like that. Is there anything worth sharing from a DealHub perspective on how you want to integrate going forward?
I don't know. You're taking me a little bit out of my knowledge space. As much as I'm the chief growth, I don't have as much knowledge on the technical and how they put it together. Our customers will use Zapier. Zapier, I believe, is a customer of ours. So they'll use Workado and those other solutions that are out there. We have another middleware solution if we need to do some integration that we work with. But it can work through all of them. It's not that we have a preference for one or not.
Excellent. So whoever is interested can contact you and you can forward it so that they can find the answer that they have.
Absolutely. Our team is very, very trained up. They'll help them with whatever solution they're working with.
Perfect. And if any one of our listeners has a question for you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Probably the easiest is I'm not sure if you put my email up. I'm happy to if you put my email on the podcast somewhere or through LinkedIn, Eyal Orgil. I think there's only one of me. I've got a unique name. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to answer what I can. If it need to be connected with somebody else, I'll definitely do that connection for you.
Perfect. And we will have the information as always in the show notes. Eyal, thank you very much for making time for the CPQ podcast today.
Frank, it's been great. And I don't know if you watch Saturday Night Live, when you have a fifth timer, there's a certain robe, I guess they give them. So I'm looking forward to the fifth time and seeing what prize you give me.
We will get to that point. No question. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope you learned something interesting today. If you like the podcast, please go ahead and rate it on iTunes or share it with your friends and colleagues. In the meantime, you can find us online at www.novocpq.com. So long, everyone.